The Majestic Hoop is one of the reasons you purchased the Viking Designer Diamond Royale. It has got the extra space to allow us to do half the design on one side and then flip it over and do half the design on the other. Now, when you purchase this hoop, and it is purchased separately from your machine, it is a 360 by 350 hoop. Now, a couple things about this hoop. Number one, it's got the screws at the bottom and at the top. So one of the things that's helpful is when you go to hoop your fabric is to go ahead and loosen those evenly. Get your hoop together and then tighten them evenly. So don't just over tighten one just to get it all good. So go ahead and kind of make sure that it's even at the top and at the bottom. Also, these little hoop holders or pinchers, they came with your machine, and these are great. Go ahead and snap those in all the way around your hoop to really give it a nice pinch, because as this distance grows, there's not a lot holding this fabric. And then your bracket, you'll have one bracket on the right and one on the left. So as we stitch, we'll be stitching, like I said, halfway, and then it'll ask us to rotate it. So let me go ahead and pull up a design. You'll notice that in your book, you'll have a variety of Majestic Hoop designs towards the back. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this butterfly here. So it's actually divided up into two parts for one design, the right, and then we'll flip it, and then two parts for the second one. Notice you've got some other fun ones in here too. So when we go to pick out our design, these are all the way at the end, so just kind of scroll all the way down to the bottom. And if you can't remember which ones have these larger designs, you can touch the question mark and touch the design. So here's that butterfly. It'll show you the design number, so it says 221. That matches this page identification here. And it also says what size it is and the total stitch count. So this will be, we're going to go ahead and touch OK, and we'll go ahead and load up this design. And I believe it's going to automatically, yes, it will switch over. Does it switch over? No, we will have to tell it which hoop we will be using. The 360 by, oh, I don't have this set as one of my hoops. So I'm going to go into the settings, go up to the diamond menu, go over to my hoops. So in the machine, so hoop selection. And I'm going to put a check mark 360 by 350. Because this is purchased separately, you usually don't have that checked until you own it. So there we go. Now we own it, and now it'll show up on the list that we'll be doing. So we can pick 360 by 350. And now you kind of get this gray bar in the middle, and that's kind of the margin or the overlap. So let's go ahead and touch go, and we'll get it started. It will tell me when to attach the hoop here. I'm just going to go ahead and slide that on. Isn't that amazing? It's gigantic. All right, touch OK. And touch go again. And we have this, embroider all on one side before turning. So that means that if there's multiple colors for the design, that it's going to finish out like color 1, 2, and 3 before we actually turn it. Otherwise, if you do no, it's going to do color 1, and then it will continue color 1. It'll tell you to switch the hoop around, and then you'll switch it back to do color 2. So it's kind of a back and forth process. There is a time where you'd want to do that, but for right now, we're going to just let it say yes and finish out each side before turning it. And you only have to turn it one time. So let's go ahead and get this design going. And then we'll kind of talk our way through some of the other options. One thing about this hoop is that it will embroider a little slower. The speed will be reduced. So as we take a look here, even though it says 17 minutes, we'll have to kind of clock it and see if it's a true 17 minutes that it's actually going to take. So let's go ahead. We'll get the machine started here. I remember doing a design quite large. We'll just say it took a while for it to actually go ahead and stitch everything. Do make sure you clear everything away from the machine, around it, in front of it, kind of watch where you're sitting. And I'm going to just stop it right here so we can trim this out so I don't have to trim it out later. And there we go. All right, so it's already jumping up to about 20 minutes here, and we'll watch and see if that actually kind of keeps going up as it continues to stitch. One of the things I've done, number one are going to need to do is make sure that you have stabilizer that is wide enough for this hoop. You can purchase stabilizer that is 20 inches wide, so make sure you do that. Another thing to do is if you go ahead and start working with some of the fusible interfacings, like fusible fleece, Shape Flex from Pellon is a great one. You can iron it onto the back, really gives the fabric a nice stability, because these designs in this larger hoop are going to kind of want to work against you as it pulls in all the directions, especially if you have a very dense design. Now you're going to ask, well, how can I make designs bigger? Well, you can't just make a design bigger on this screen and the machine will split it. This design, for example, is pre-split to know that it's going to be working with the Majestic Hoop. It's nice that they give us some of these designs preloaded, so if you do purchase a hoop, you can go ahead and have something to start stitching. You will want to look into the current version of the Husqvarna Viking software, and there is parts of the software that will allow you to take a design, enlarge it, and then it will have you split the design for this hoop, and it really works out well. You can actually go in and actually find where to split it. This is a fairly easy design where we can kind of tell where it's actually going to split. And once we finish sewing out this one side, we're going to see where that actually was done in the software originally before they saved it into this machine. So this is a really pretty design. Okay, now it's bouncing down to about 13 minutes. Total stitches on here about 30,000 stitches, so 15,000 per side. So we're going to just go ahead and let it run, and we'll meet you when this design is finished in the middle, and I'll show you how we switch around to do the other half. So this design did take about 40 minutes. It did jump quite a bit higher once we turned the camera off, but we've got half of it done, and now it says turn hoop. So I'm going to go ahead and touch OK. And notice, let's see here, remove hoop, there we go. And let it recalibrate there. Notice the design is turned upside down already. Whoops. Okay, gotta move the hoop out of the way while it does that. So I hope I haven't, maybe I should recalibrate that hoop really quick. Okay, so we're turning the hoop all the way around, clicking it back into place, making sure not to catch any of my fabric or stabilizer there. And when we go to start, since I did get that hoop kind of up against my embroidery arm and that was not happy, I did go ahead and turn off the machine and reset it and brought it back to the position that I am. I'm on design or section 2, color 1, and when this first started, there's a little tiny kind of mark that it went ahead and stitched. And what that's good is that you can then move or make sure that you are lined up when you go to turn this hoop. Now I'm just a little bit off, and that's where you can use the design positioning option right here, where we can go in, zoom in, and get it exactly lined up for this little dot that's like right down at the bottom. Here, I'll get to where we need to be. There is a video we have done on design positioning, so you can actually see and get an idea how this is actually going to work. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the little needle point for step 1 right there on the point I'm looking for. And then step 2 is going to allow me to move the design just slightly so it actually meets up. So this is just a quick little way. I mean, over this big span of a design, yes, there are things that aren't going to be lined up just exactly right, but that's what design positioning is all about. So I'm almost there. I'm just going to move it up right here just a little bit. Oh, a little bit more. There we go. Now I think we're just going to go for it. So we'll come back over here and we'll zoom back out to regular size, zoom to all. And then remember, if you want to see a little bit more of your design, you can always kind of move this window by touching right here, and they'll fly out of the way. And then you can come back and go ahead and stitch. Okay, so here we go. So we'll just go ahead. It'll go back to wherever the first stitch is going to be. And then we have already turned that hoop. And so it should be ready to go. So once the design has been flipped on your screen and you've turned your hoop as you've been guided to do so, the design is going to just go ahead and stitch out all the way to the end. I know it says 11 minutes, but I bet that's going to jump to about 45 minutes in just a second. So that's about as long as or 45 minutes, how long the first side went. So it's pretty exciting. We'll just let this stitch and we'll show you the result at the end. Isn't that amazing? That is a gigantic design, and you have this built into your machine.